Hi, Zai here, and while I've reviewed over 50 mice, I haven't really put much research into how they get made. I still haven't, but Xtrfy gave me a document with this mouse. Apparently, Emil Christensen is behind it. It goes on to say he's the mastermind behind the SteelSeries Rival and the Zowie EC. The EC stands for Emil Christensen. Anyone who watches this channel knows that I love the Zowie EC series. The shape is amazing, so I have a lot of respect for the design team behind that. I like the M3 too, but for me, it's not quite EC level. Still worth checking out though. Here's a quick look at the packaging. Fairly standard, and in this little box, you get a sticker and a manual. A tour of the mouse so you know what it looks like. It has a relatively thin front and wide back, fairly large horizontal thumb curve, and a moderate vertical curve to create a ledge, assisting with picking it up. It seems to be trying to create a natural shape for the hand. As on the right side, we see another large curve, and there's a slight vertical ledge there too, which is good. It has some comfort grooves in the buttons, but see how they're not centered or even? It's bigger in the middle and slopes down, and that will cause your fingers to spread a little more, and slide toward the outer edge. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I prefer even grooves in the buttons. Here's a look at the size compared to some other mice, including the Death Adder and the Rival. The weight is roughly 105 grams with a bit of cable, and the SteelSeries Rival weighs about 103 grams. So they feel about the same, and they're very similar in design. One difference is that the M3 has a tapered edge around the base, on the sides and back. What this means for grip is usually I'll leave my fingers and thumb resting on the mousepad a bit, like on the Rival, but on the M3, it feels uncomfortable, so I keep my thumb and fingers higher. This might be a good thing for people who like their fingers above the pad. For measurements, the grip width is about 5.5 centimeters, although hard to measure because of the curves. Base length is about 11.5, but the actual length is about 13, and the height is the usual 4 centimeters at the highest point. The button slope isn't exactly steep, but just long, so it's not quite suited to fingertip grip, and the hump being more toward the center and back makes it suitable to palm and claw. If your hands are big enough, you can probably fingertip grip it too. So for palm grip, I'd say it could work for hands between 17.5 and 19.5 centimeters. Claw grip might work for 17 to 20, and fingertip maybe 18.5 to 20. The weight distribution feels like it's in line with the center, so despite the large back, it's still quite well balanced. Moving on to the buttons, here is a listen to the clicks. I didn't have any accidental clicks on any of them, and left and right feel light, but still with a good amount of tension. Middle click is a little less tight than others, making it easier to click quickly, if you ever need to. And scrolling up and down feels smooth, with a decent amount of tension on the steps, but it's more suited to browsing. The side buttons are large and have a good amount of travel, and the DPI button is on the base. No problem using multiple buttons together, and testing latency against the Logitech G403. Neither test is accurate, but there isn't much in it. Slight advantage going to the G403, but I had no trouble in game with the M3. Overall, the buttons are quite good and should be suitable to MOBA and FPS. Now checking the implementation of the 3310 sensor. It performs well in rocket jumping as expected. I can't make it spin out even with fast flicks, but as usual in the tilt slam test, it can be made to spin out. Again, that's not a problem for most people, but it is why the 3360 is becoming more popular. Zooming in to check snipering, and it tracks pixel by pixel movement, and as smoothly as expected at 400 and 1600 DPI. I don't have an accurate acceleration test, but this seems fine, and the liftoff distance appears to be about 2 DVDs on a hard and cloth pad. There's no delay that I can find, and testing the 360, it seems most mice give a different result, so as usual, make sure you know your 360 before changing mice. In the line tests, there's no abnormal jitter, angle snapping, or skipping. The liftoff movement is well controlled, and there's no lens rattle. Overall, a great performance by the 3310 as usual, and I'd be happy using this in competitive play. For build quality, when tapping it, there isn't much sound, but when shaking it, I could hear something rattling. Which is similar to a lot of other mice using the 3310, nothing serious though, and it has a rubberized coat all over, which feels good and is meant to get grippier with sweat. The shape should prevent it from slipping anyway. The cable is a smooth braid that has some flexibility, as you can see by me pushing the mouse with it here. It does bend. And there are 3 large mouse feet on the base, which glide smoothly on hard and soft pads. No software on the mouse, and for LEDs, it has the yellow band on the front and the logo on the back. Now here are some highlights while I give my conclusion. So this is a great quality mouse, from the feel to the performance. it's all good. I can aim quite well with it, and it is an alternative to the SteelSeries Rival 300. I prefer the buttons and that it feels slightly smaller, but it's still a medium to large mouse that weighs over 100 grams, so it's not for me personally. The biggest difference is of course the widened back on the M3, and in my opinion that's over designing the mouse. I was happy with the flatter sides of the Rival. It's still good though, and they're not that different, so if you think they'll feel comfortable for your claw grip, then it's probably the better option. It's a tough call, and that's the problem with having similar mice on the market. Flip a coin, you probably won't be unhappy with whatever decision you make, so check availability and cost, maybe that will decide for you. Hope that helps. Special thanks to Xtrfy for sending the M3 out for review. Check the description for more information, including ways you can help support the channel. As always, subscribe, share, like this video, and I'll catch you in the next.